gavels, I hold my ground. Unlawful shadows fade when I'm around. With every case I pave the way ahead. For equality's rise where justice is bred. From the first to the fifth, I know the fight. Turning darkness to dawn, bringing truth to light. A guardian of law with a heart so true. For every voice out there, see it through. Fight for the right, let the truth take flight. Echoes of freedom from morning to night. Stand for the soul, turn the wrong to right. Civil rights attorney, I'm your guiding light. Rights in motion. Justice devotion. Tune in, stand tall. This is our fight. Together, we ride for justice's light. Subscribe, join in a future so bright. Civil Rights Live.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I appreciate everyone that joins my test chat. We watched some body camera, chilled out, answered some questions, listened to some audio, and so what we got going on today is we're gonna watch. I'm gonna pull up and see if I can get the city council meeting going on. Honestly, I don't expect much from it. I looked at the agenda. They do go in executive session. That's not going to be recorded. And I didn't see anything referenced to Springer. So that tells me they might ignore it, or they're just not going to respond, or respond through other means. But either way, what's going to end up happening is the complaint is drafted. It's pretty much ready to go. I got to tweak some things. But I felt like what a great opportunity to discuss what goes into a complaint, what goes into having to file it. So let me move it over here and see if they are live. I guess not live until 6 o'clock. So appreciate, yeah, intro music. I just some AI crap, right? I mean, yeah, 30 days. Yeah, I guess it has been, a crazy month. If you told me a month into YouTube, would I still be doing it? Probably not. Probably not. So, and I have dark mode. Obviously, I'm showing my word. So you see how I work on complaints. So I got to make sure all the paragraphing's the right way. I like dark mode. I can't just stare at all the brightness, as it is. Let me figure out what's going on with this video here. They should have started by now. Why have you all not started? Mckinney, why have you all not started? I am going to probably, let me open it up just to make sure I'm not getting, see, city council. They've been meeting all day. They had a work session apparently at 3 o'clock. So, here we go. We got the video. we got the video. Let me just double check something, make sure we got the sound. Well, we have the sound. Why don't we have the sound? You're killing me, Smalls. If I have to flip over to a different screen to do this, I will. All right, let me do something. Okay, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to switch all this out. I hide that.
Pray this all in your holy and blessed name, Jesus. Amen. Amen. Amen.
We know these guys.
Yeah. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Yeah.
Bear with me. We'll get it. We'll get it. A little trial and error. Trial and error. There we go.
That's when he needs parking. His absence is noted. See my password.
Oh, someone's absent. That's what I just heard. And if hopefully we're able to hear everything okay.
All right. Tonight we have two proclamations.
All right, now let me make it big again. Oh, play it. All right, good. Got it. Got it.
First proclamation. National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week is held
Y'all hear that okay?
the week before Thanksgiving to effectively remind us to act on these important issues now and throughout the year. Whereas the City of McKinney is an active collaborator with the Collin County Homeless Coalition and Housing Forward, local cities, community organizations, businesses, and concerned citizens.
Appreciate the
Together
super
with
chat.
Partnership and commitment to assist those in need of housing with compassion toward the goal of being
If you
housed.
know,
Whereas
you
the City
can't
of McKinney
have
also
a clearly
participates in
established
collaborative
live
efforts
stream
with
without technical
organizations
difficulties. So you just
assisting
got to get over
families
it.
and
All right.
individuals lacking in consistent food availability and other support needs. The City of McKinney acknowledges these efforts and continues to engage in impactful solutions through the collaborative efforts of the McKinney Homeless Coalition. Now, therefore, I, Bill Cox, by the power vested in me as Mayor of McKinney, I do hereby proclaim the week of November 16 to November 22nd, 2025 as McKinney Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. With that, urging all people to heed these important messages and support the efforts of our local agencies and the McKinney Housing and Community Development Department. Thank you.
Hold on one second.
Thank you, Mayor Cox. happy to join alongside and try and make things happen. But we want to say thank you to everyone in this community for your efforts, your thoughts, starting the conversation so that we can get to solutions. And if you want more information, this whole week is about awareness. So visit an agency, check out the in social media. We have events all week long. To come, ask questions. We will have answers if we have them. If not, we'll find them. And then Thanksgiving is right around the corner. So I know Emmanuel Labor will be serving a Thanksgiving meal. There are a couple other locations that will be doing meals towards the end of the month that could use volunteers.
The meeting is live.
So this is the best time of the year for all of us. So we look forward to coming together. Thank you.
And our next proclamation is no surprise, the Red Kettle. No surprise to anyone in McKinney. The Salvation Army was founded in Great Britain in 1865 and in Texas in 1889 to provide humanitarian relief and spiritual guidance to people of all walks of life. And it is operated by trained, commissioned officers who have dedicated their lives completely to service, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, and meeting the human needs in His name without discrimination. For support of this cause, this distinguished Salvation Army Red Kettles will be located in grocery stores, retail stores, and other locations throughout McKinney to collect donations for those most vulnerable in this city. And the Salvation Army needs volunteers, Councilman Cloutier, volunteers to fill the more than 4,000 available shifts. Just 2 hours of your time can provide shelter on a cold night for 10 individuals, 50 meals for a family, or gifts for a forgotten angel this season. Therefore, I, Bill Cox, by the virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of the city of McKinney, do hereby proclaim November 18, 2025 as the official kickoff for the Season to Give with Joy to the Salvation Army, urging all citizens to recognize and participate in the Salvation Army Red Kettle campaign by going to registering.com and pick a day, time, and location to volunteer as a bell ringer and provide hope to our neighbors this year.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Cox, for your continuing the mantle of that Mayor Fuller had started in supporting of the Red Kettle campaign and the work that we do here in McKinney. And as you've mentioned, so our goal here in McKinney is to raise $150,000 through our Red Kettle campaigns this season. Last year we raised about $110,000, I believe. So we're trying to look at raising a little bit more this year. And as you said, anyone can go to registertoring.com and look and pick out a date and time to help us volunteer. Because as long as we have the people there ringing the bell, then we'll have donations that'll come in and help us out. And the important thing to realize is that with our Red Kettle campaign is that it's all extremely hyper local. So wherever you see a red kettle and you put your dollars into the kettle, it'll go to help that local community and provide hope for those neighbors in need in that community. So we're really proud to be supporting the residents of McKinney and Northern Collin County with this program. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes, please. Thank you. If we could have the council come down, let's start the Red Kettle campaign in the right way and make a contribution.
Contribution time. That's what it's going to look like outside the courthouse when walk in with that judgment.
Yes, that's yours.
Before you guys
Thank you so much. We want to just take a moment to congratulate our city manager, Mr. Paul Grimes. This is a bit of a surprise to him. He received the International City and County Management Association's prestigious award for career excellence in memory of Mark E. Keene. The association has
I would make that an interview
14,000
question.
global members and also gives one
Should we end
career
immunity,
excellence
yes or
award
no?
per year. And this year, that went to none other than the great Paul Grimes, who has now been with the city for 9.5 years and has truly done a phenomenal job. I
So
don't
if you
think we
all
could
watch
ask
my
for any
video-
better in a city manager, the way you engage
If you watch my
with not
video,
just the
we know
residents,
how
but
much McKinney makes,
chooses
right?
an excellent
Why are they
staff,
asking
and
for
because
money?
of it, our city has grown tremendously and has grown very well under your leadership. So we wanted
Am
to
I
take this
missing
time to
something?
recognize
Is that
you
is
because
it
we know
just
how
me, or is that a little
important
weird?
this is, and we want to say we appreciate all that you do for the city of McKinney. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Clapping like Freeman just
As
walked
I've
in there.
said before, just as I've started to come to terms with my imposter syndrome, this has to happen. So, listen, I'm a bumpkin from Indiana, small little town. I don't know a lot about many things, but I do know talent. And we hire fantastic staff some of them are here tonight, of course, and our executive staff. They're the ones who make it happen. Nobody can win an award like this without it being a team effort. It just doesn't happen without the great people. If I have anything to do with that, it's hiring really good people and keeping them on and hopefully serving the community as best as possible. So thank you all very much, and thank you.
They're going to be disappointed when they realize they didn't have to file this lawsuit. All they had to do was make one simple agenda item, one simple motion, $1, or change your name. That was it.
Congratulations, I didn't know I walked back to this.
They made me do this. Who am I kidding? This is going to be more fun anyway.
Mr. Grimes, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to make you embarrassed a little bit.
Mission accomplished.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
they haven't seen anything
All right,
yet.
moving on. Public comments on agenda items. Paul Ballesteros.
So I don't think it's been 30 days since I did the demand, but I also don't think, I think this is the only council meeting they have in between there. So if council was serious about the demand, they would have taken it up
Paul
at-
Ballesteros,
during this
6508
item
Marvin Gardens, McKinney, Texas.
or agenda or a separate
75070.
agenda, but they didn't do that.
Resident.
So my
I'm also the
assumption is
president,
we got to
founder
be
of our local
prepared
nonprofit, Emmanuel Labor.
to
My
act
mission, in short,
once
is to
the
remove
30 days
lessness
expires. I
from
don't know. Maybe
homelessness in Jesus'
we
name.
don't wait.
And as you are all aware, it is National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. But I want to make sure that you're aware that the greatest challenge people experiencing homelessness, your neighbors experiencing homelessness face, or is your view of homelessness. And I'm not saying that you have bad hearts. I'm just saying our limited perspective. The moment a person becomes homeless, their life expectancy drops 20 years, and they become 3 times more vulnerable to all causes of death. And these numbers are impacted by how society views homelessness, and society determines how to address homelessness based on its view of it. Most people view homelessness as bad, but someone else's problem. Most people don't give it much attention unless it's put in their face from either the news, a close personal relationship, or it happens to them. The tendency is to use an oversimplified narrative to
Does anyone
describe
live near
everyone's
McKinney?
situation as identical, with comments like, homelessness is bad, but isn't it really just poor people making poor choices like drugs or alcohol? See, homelessness is a result of choices, but mostly because the choices available to the person were extremely limited. Other than Jesus, no one picks their parents. No one picked where they were going to be born. No one picked how they were going to be raised. And so sometimes we think just because somebody ought to know better Doesn't mean they do, because it was never presented to them. A lot of the things that we strive for as a society are not intuitive. In fact, the cross of Christ is not intuitive. Somebody dying and coming back is not coming up to you unless somebody brought it up to you, and then it needs to be explained, because how does that happen, and what does that mean for me? And so I will tell you that we have the solution to homelessness for a person. It's right here. It's right here. Getting people to open it is the hardest part. And so we use tools like this and this to guide people towards this. And I will tell you, in my experience, getting a person experiencing homelessness to open this is way easier than some of my other neighbors. And I know that they will find peace in this process. They will learn how to address it. There are things that we can do. We cannot end homelessness as a concept. It says right in here that poverty will always be among us until Jesus comes back. But we can end it for a person, and we do that by getting to know them. And a hallmark of Christianity isn't just loving people that you know, it's loving people that you don't. It's loving your stranger. Matthew 25:40 often says, most people quote that and say, whatever you do for the least of these, you're doing for me. And the most overlooked thing in that list is I was a stranger and you welcomed me. So, we can be like Forrest Gump. Just say hi to the bus driver, introduce yourself, and then you ain't strangers no more. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Heather Molesby.
Good evening. My name is Heather Molesby, for those
Sounds
in the
good.
audience who may not know who I am, and I work with the Samaritan. Margaret did a great job at the earlier work session presenting on the state of homelessness, and I want to follow up with a little bit of additional information. Of the 553 residents that we served in our shelter, it seems like quite a large number, and it is, because it's actually a 26% increase from last year. And we had over 1,000 unique applications to shelter last year, which was a 23% increase. I also wanted to come up here today to give a special thank you to Councilman Beller for his post of late regarding his work in this world of homelessness. You did a great job of telling your story, talking about the details of the steps taken, the time spent, and the inevitable ups and downs for one person. The information you provided was but a glimpse into a much larger picture. And I know it was hard for you, it was hard for the neighbor. And there was success and times that it felt like failure. Last year, our 8 caseworkers
appreciate
did
that,
the
the
same
history there.
path, walking alongside 278 individuals and 94 families, which included 179 kids. Some needed less help, some needed more, some gave up because it was too much for them, and others overcame their barriers. There were highs and there were lows, and even
What's
with our
COVID?
knowledge of all the ins and outs of different systems,
Am I allowed to
we
say that
still
on YouTube?
struggled to help make sure that they were successful. With our recent expansion at the end of services into a grocery-style food pantry and assistance programming, we know the impactful work we've done for over 40 years will now cover before, during, and after homelessness. And although we do not carry a crystal ball, we do see a horizon on all fronts of increased numbers, and we are appreciative of this amazing city, its leaders, its community members,
Hey, Jimmy, I'll go back
its
through it. I'm
businesses,
just
and the
making some minor
nonprofit partner
changes.
agencies as we all move forward towards that horizon. This year has not always been an easy road, but we have unwrapped the gift of discussion. Discussions lead to solutions, and I can already see 2026 building up into a year of growth, engagement, and collaboration at new levels. From involvement with Mckinney Homeless Coalition and continued partnerships in the county and larger continuum arenas, we know it will take all of us. It will take money, it will take heartache, it will take patience, it will take change that is not always comfortable, and it will take commitment. The Inn is thankful for another year in this community, and with heart, opportunity, perseverance, and engagement,
Okay.
we
gonna
can
start at
and
the
will
top.
be better together. Thank you.
I'm gonna go.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm gonna go
Next
slow.
speaker is John Hill.
Okay, so y'all can read it if you want. I might clip this as well. So just so everyone's know what's going on here, this is in the middle of the McKinney City Council
Good
meeting
evening.
on November
My name is
18th.
John Hill,
It's
and
the
I'm the
only
Chief
one in
External
between the
Relations
30-day
Officer.
deadline
with Housing
And
Forward.
so,
Let me begin by expressing
I'm
my
going to scroll
gratitude
through
to all
the
of you,
draft complaint
esteemed mayor,
that
honorable
we're going to
members
end
of
up
the council,
filing.
for the proclamation.
Who knows when,
in
but it's
honor
ready to
of
go.
Homelessness and Hunger and Awareness Week. It takes courage to do what all of you are doing, to sit up there, to sign your names on the dotted line, to be candidates, to make and pass ordinances in the best interest of your constituents. So for that, I'm eternally grateful. It takes courage and fortitude to do those things.
I'm not going to mess with
I'm
that.
up here not to talk about what's going on in Dallas, but to say that Housing Forward is the lead agency for the continuum of care, which covers all of Dallas and Collin County. I say that to let you all know that you, as the city of McKinney, are not alone. We work, in fact, with all of the cities in Dallas and Collin County to bring an end to homelessness. We want to make sure that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring for those folks that we engage. And we want to be partners to all of you in making sure that we are able to resolve this chronic issue. Housing Forward, as the lead agency of the All Neighbors Coalition, we create a unified strategy together with our partners, including Samaritan Inn, and we guide all of our 150 plus organizations in the same direction in order to serve our neighbors best.
If y'all got any questions about
We
anything
believe
you're
that
reading,
in order to
if you're
resolve
reading it, let me
homelessness,
know.
people need a safe, clean place to stay at night.
If
But
you
so
want me
too
to
do all the people in this
ditch the
city
meeting
deserve
and
a
just talk
safe,
about the
clean place
complaint,
to live, work, and
we
play.
could do that as well.
Enforcement's important, but if we're going to bring an end to homelessness, we have to progress people from on the street to no longer on the street. Now, the numbers bear out something very clear, that homelessness is improving here, not just in McKinney, but all over Dallas and Collin County compared to the rest of the country. Where they're seeing record highs in unsheltered homelessness elsewhere, here in Dallas and Collin County, we are experiencing 4 years of decreases. Now, if we want to talk about numbers, we can talk about the fact that we are experiencing an effective end to veteran homelessness. Where when we identify a veteran, they are housed
local rules
within
like
78
stuff
days,
double space,
which is faster than the federal standard.
Sometimes
of
they
90
control
days.
margins.
But I also want to talk about how people feel.
Fonts,
when you see people
size.
experiencing homelessness, it may not feel like we are moving in the right direction. But what I can say is that because of you all as elected officials and organizations like Samaritan Inn and our other 150 partners, we can, we are, and we will make sure that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-recurring here in McKinney and elsewhere. And Housing Forward is here as a partner to help you all figure out the best way for that to work here. Thank you.
Imagine the money you can save
Hill.
just by spending $1
All right, we will now move to our consent agenda.
on some litigation.
This will be the minutes of previous meetings, resolutions, and ordinances. Do we have any pull downs?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull down 253384. And I just have a comment on it, but I would make a motion that we approve the remainder of them.
I will second, sorry, Rick, I'll second that motion.
And we have a motion by Councilman Beller to approve the consent agenda minus item 25-3384, and a second by Councilman Cloutier. Is there any discussion? Please cast your vote. That motion carries. We'll now discuss item 25-3384. Councilman
This is the fanciest
I just wanted to-
city council meeting I think I've seen.
This is a resolution about guiding principles for an RFP, and I'm just not ready, or an RFQ, I'm just not ready. And I would like for us to explore other options with this before we move to an RFQ. I know that this has kind of been, set up for years, but after our discussion today with capital plans and funding for those capital plans,
Yeah,
I would
let's,
really like to explore the options of what can we.
We can
do
always watch
differently,
this later.
with this. So that's just my comment on it.
Let's ditch this.
You're giving me a furrowed brow, Dr. Feltus.
I'll
They're
piggyback
right now
on that a
talking
little
about
bit.
they're talking about the consent
things-
agenda.
We get a lot of pitches up here and they come.
And I'm going to keep it on a low volume here so that way if something comes up, I can bring it up, and then I can say, hey, look, let's go talk about it. So let me start with this. So if you all wanted to do probably gonna have to, I'll be fine. It's just weird hearing and trying to talk over it. So let me switch over real quick to another document so I can show you kind of this cheat sheet I made to guide this discussion. Okay, I think that should be helpful. Oh, and then hide this one. Okay. So if you've ever filed a lawsuit, specifically you want to file one for federal court, 1983, that's what I'm tailoring this to. What you want to do is you got to first, there's two sets of rules you want to check, right? The first set of rules is the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. The second is every court has local rules, right? So like in the Eastern District of Texas, they're going to have there's a court out in Lufkin or Beaumont where that specific judge or those local rules minimize complaints to 30 pages. It has to be double spaced, has to be a specific font. And then what ends up happening is you have to then appreciate that, History Bear. Psychopaths, tyrants do not pay for lawsuits. They do not care about costs. Nope, they don't. Matter of fact, if you've watched the deposition, one of the depositions I posted, that cop had no idea whatsoever, but I definitely appreciate that. That's awesome. So you want to check the rules. You want to check the local rules. And then Houston, for example, freaking huge, right? There's a ton of judges, and each of those judges are going to have their own separate local rules. So here's the thing. If you don't tailor the local rules correctly, even though you're like, hey, but I complied with the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, but you don't check with the local rules, the judge has authority to kick out your complaint. So you want to make sure you address that as well. I'm going to turn this up a little bit because all I hear is mumbling. Okay. So now with, can you all hear me okay? Am I coming through fine? I'll keep going. I'm sure you all catch up eventually. So what I'm going to cover specifically is the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. There's a couple of things you want to look for. So Rule 3, right? Obviously, you have to file it. That's going to be the most simple one. You can't claim you're entitled to relief if you don't file a lawsuit. Then Rule 7A talks about the specific pleadings. So 7A, the only pleadings that are allowed is the complaint and the answer. So you can't, unfortunately, I can't submit a video lawsuit, although I think that would be really cool and maybe that'll change one day. Can you imagine just sending a YouTube link? And then, let me see. And then so you can find the local rules by Google, if you Google the court you're going into. And then what'll end up happening is you would, let me see if I can. I'll see if I can show you later here, but you just Google it. You're going to go to the court website, and then there's going to be a section that says local rules. And then they'll have two forms. They'll have a form you can read on the website, like it'll go line by line. What I usually do is I would go to the PDF version. I would save the PDF, and then I would just Control F it. If I want to look for like initial pleadings, I would do Control F for initial pleadings or for complaint. And I would want to know, okay, just the barrier to entry to filing this document, is there anything I need to be aware of? At some point, though, you definitely want to read the entirety of the local rules. Generally, it's divided between criminal and civil. You want to read the civil, especially sometimes I'll even do civil rights as well to say, are there specific issues I need to look at for civil rights? So you'll want to be able to do that. AI could be a helpful tool, but you want to verify. I guarantee you AI would not understand the local rules for like East Texas, right? Lufkin, Texas, right? And the local rules change so much. You just want to check. AI could be helpful with at least telling you maybe what the federal rules are, something that's more standardized. But just be aware of that as well. Okay. So pleadings, make sure you have those. You can't do anything fancy. It's got to be written. It's got to be a document. You have to label it as complaints. And city council's just going off. Y'all made a good decision backing out of that. They're just talking about crap right now. And then 8A. So 8A generally, that's a big issue. So a lot of times when you file a lawsuit, they filed a lawsuit under 12B6 and they're going to say, hey, you didn't assert enough information to justify that you're entitled to relief. So that's the first issue. So it's got to be a concise statement that suggests why you're entitled to relief. The second thing with 1983 lawsuits is you have to provide sufficient information to then overcome qualified immunity. So what happens when they move to dismiss, right, when you file your complaint? Well, they're going to make two arguments. The first is going to be your claim fails on its face for failing to state a claim. And then even if you did state a claim, the second thing is it fails to overcome qualified immunity. So those are two different things. And hopefully all that makes sense to you. But the key thing is you have to find the right nuance between being detailed enough, but not being overly detailed to where you're kind of stuffing yourself in a box because you didn't give yourself any kind of leeway, right? And keep in mind, you're allowed to make allegations. You're allowed to assume things. So if you think what happened, you can say, I think this is what happened, or upon information and belief. Right? Because a lot of times you're not going to know this information until you get discovery. You can't know discovery until you get over the motion to dismiss. And you can't get over the motion to dismiss if you don't provide enough information in your complaint. Crazy. So Rule 8A1, you have to plead, right? For example, jurisdiction. I know this chart says jurisdiction and you're going to say jurisdiction. Courts generally would look at jurisdiction regardless if you plead it or not. They have an obligation to. And there's two types of jurisdiction you want to think about. General jurisdiction. So a lot of state courts might be general jurisdiction. If you plead a certain amount, they'll take any and everything that you bring in. Federal courts are not general jurisdiction. It has to be what's going to be relevant here under 1983 is federal question. So if you say I'm bringing a civil rights lawsuit, they should know right away they're going to get jurisdiction. I know that's going to be confusing. So just if you say civil rights, you're going to be good, right? I got civil rights. I'm good to go. And that'll get you over that. Civil rights, why? Well, you got to provide a date, not really a time, but provide a date in your information. Why? They got to know if they have jurisdiction from statute of limitations. If your case took too long to file, they're going to just throw it out. So what's necessary information to get over? Date, what happened, who was involved. I think that's it, right? Those are the three big things. Date, what happened, who was involved. And when I say what happened, sometimes we get this stuff kicked when, a bunch of officers are beating the crap out of somebody and the court's going to be like, but you didn't tell us which officer swung at which time or whatever. Sometimes courts get a little crazy with that. So what do I do in the beginning? I say all the officers made all the strikes in the beginning, right? Because that's what we assume happened until you get information. So the key thing is, if the court is saying you did not provide enough information or you failed to state a claim, the first thing you want to look at is, did we assert enough information? I'll kind of show you how I did that. And then, of course, your damages. You got to say, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking for damages, injunction? I never put a dollar amount in these things. Why? Because I want the jury to decide. So I don't want to deal with all that. So, and then each allegation must just be simple and concise, right? It's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. Hey, this guy on such and such date arrested me, and he did not have probable cause, right? That, boom, good to go. So now they might say, oh, well, when did he arrest you, or what allegations? Like, it's not your job to write in the probable cause, right? The complaint is your complaint. It's your allegations. You can say you are completely following the law. You were doing nothing wrong. And then this officer decided to engage in his practice and violated your rights. That's enough. Now, of course, once there's discovery coming on, it's going to change the narrative a little bit, right? So you want to be mindful of that as well. All right. So 8, Rule 8, big thing. Basically, you just got to provide just enough facts, but not too many facts. Because if you're wrong, or you weren't vague enough, right? It's create issues. So you have to name all the parties in the caption. So Rule 10, all that. And then you got to sign the complaint. That's another big thing. You sign it. If you're represented by counsel, they'll sign it. Let me see. Okay. If this is getting too vague or dense or whatever, tell me. I'm relying on you all to kind of gauge all of this. So the key thing is, let me just give you the takeaway. Okay. The takeaway is, you have to have a caption. Let me just do that. Let me just show you the takeaway from. Let me make this. I can nerd out on this. Okay. So forgive me on that. And I could have probably made this an edited video. It was pretty quick, but I felt like this was a good opportunity to kind of present this case. So this part up here, this is what's called a caption. Okay. So your case needs a caption under the federal rules. And the caption's going to say who all the parties are. You're going to have your plaintiff and you're going to name all the defendants. So that's it. And where are you filing it at? And it's going to be in the Eastern District in Sherman. So you get the caption in there, you're good. Boom. Set. And then what's next? Well, then you got to say, what is the document? It's a complaint. You can literally just write complaint and you're good. And then, there's crap that says to the honorable court. Do you need that? No, that's just kind of formality. That's what everybody does. But do you really need it in there? No, not at all. And then you just say, what is the document? Well, Freeman is bringing this lawsuit under 1983 in the Privacy Protection Act. And he's seeking damages against Dean Riano and the city of McKinney. Boom. There you go. And then the parties, you list the parties very briefly. You don't even got to get in detail. The key thing for 1983, though, for the defendants, like individual defendants, all you have to say is they were acting under color of law. That's it. Under color of law. Boom. There you go. So color of law, and then McKinney, Texas, they don't operate, they're a city. You don't have to say that. So any individual defendant, color of law. So you're lucky. Wife told me I'm nerding out too much, so she saved y'all. All right. And then jurisdiction, you just say federal question. You don't have to get too detailed. The court, again, they're going to have to figure out jurisdiction regardless if you say it or not. So then this is the juicy part, right? Then you got to get to the facts. So if there's a story, I want to tell a story. Really, this story is not for the court as much as it is for you all, right? Or for McKinney. Maybe I want McKinney to have the story. And so I'm going to just say background. I want to set up that James Springer is a journalist. Why? Because that bolsters, one, it's true, but two, it bolsters the, yeah, I got the meeting up as well. There's nothing going on with it. So I want to bolster the Privacy Act violation, right? Because what they do, what cities do, smaller cities specifically, I've seen this, is if they think you're a quote auditor, or they think you're working in conjunction with others, they want to get all the information off of your devices because they want to try to figure out if you're working with other people. They want to build this network, right? They want to try to put together, a RICO case or criminal organized activity case. They want to figure out who's working with who. And the way they do that is through instances like what they did with Freeman, and they got all of his devices. So you want to be aware of that. And obviously you got to stop that, because the motive to get the device is not that Freeman was out there violating the law. It was because they wanted information, and they're going to abuse the law to get it. That's our position anyway, right? And it is probably true. I'm allowed to have that allegation. So we set up that he's a journalist and what he does, and he has a history of doing it. And then we get to the juicy stuff, right? We just basically say, the October 8th incident, that's the incident that's creating this. Hey, y'all want to see real quick what Freeman, Texas looks like? Look at that.
I'd have to go back and find that.
Would you guess it's more than the 250 feet that right?
It looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway. So the October 8th incident, when you have this specific, when you want to detail the specific incident for your lawsuit, again, it's short, concise statements that you have to overcome. You have to, one, put the defendant on notice of what the allegation is, but two, with 1983 cases, you also have to overcome qualified immunity. So blatantly obvious, what overcomes qualified immunity in Freeman's circumstance? Well, if you arrest somebody without probable cause. So that's all you have to really assert, right? I could literally just say on October 8th, 2025, I don't even have to put in a time. I could just say he observed a traffic stop being conducted by Riano, and then Riano arrests him without probable cause or reasonable suspicion. And then it's done. And we could legitimately leave it at that. So, Freeman has been doing this for years, for sure. So I do provide a little bit more detail, though, just to kind of tell the story. I don't need to. In your lawsuit, you don't need to. You just provide the time and place, who is there, and what did they do that violated the law. If you have that, you're good. If you want to provide a little bit more information to tell a story, you can do that too. So here, he was recording. Riano observed him and then began questioning him. And then what did he do? He ordered Springer to back up, and then Springer complied. And then while he complied, what did he do? He told Riano to what? Shut up, right? And then by threatening, and then Riano threatened arrest. And I like putting their language. Anytime an officer says something stupid, I like that. I like when officers say stupid things, because then I get to quote them, and then I get to make them look stupid. I didn't say it, right? I'm not trying to make them look stupid. They said it. They made themselves look stupid. When you say, I'm going to arrest you for shutting up, and then you arrest them, of course it's going to end up in a public filing, because it's what happened. I don't make up facts. So, and then Riano explicitly indicated the arrest would be based only on speech, right? So that's all we do, right? Telling officer shut up. Also, I do have some body camera video that I've been compiling for another video. I'm getting a little sidetracked of and if you all have some, send it to me. Any instance where an officer is telling someone to shut up, okay? Where an officer is telling someone else to shut up. I think that I got something working. So if you want to contribute to that, let me know. Okay. Yeah, jurors definitely love stupid quotes. All right. And then Springer, because we got the body camera, continued to comply with the orders. And at no point did Riano, with the ticket in hand, right? We want to point that out, that the stop would have ended. He even said that, hey, thank you. At one point, Riano told him, thank you, sir. I appreciate you following orders. See how we're telling the story here? And despite Springer's full compliance with all orders, and despite the fact the traffic stop was proceeding without any physical interference from Mr. Springer repeated his criticism. And I say criticism, that word's important because that's what the case law says. You're allowed to criticize. Shut up. And yeah, Riano should have followed his order, Freeman's criticism, and we probably wouldn't be here, right? So then Riano ceased conducting the traffic stop, walked back over to his vehicle, and stared Springer down for nearly a minute. We know that. You all have probably seen that. And then he called for backup. And then once backup arrived, Riano immediately arrested Springer. So the arrest was based on an alleged violation of Texas Penal Code 3815, interference with public duties. This is another thing. So when you're telling the court that an officer lacks probable cause, what the court's going to do is they're going to look at the alleged violation and they're going to go through the elements. So what do I do to make this a lot easier for the courts here? Yeah, I'm going to drop my email real quick for contribution. Anytime a cop tells people shut up. Yeah. All right, there's my email. It's bg@thegrable.com. I tried to get grable.com, but someone else already has it. So if the court's going to be breaking down the statute already, I'm like, I get the first bite at the apple here. I'm going to do it for them. So that's what I proceed to do. So I list the elements, or I basically say what the important element is, the defense to prosecution, is that it can't be of speech only. And then, so what do? I then apply that law, that defense to Springer's conduct. I say he was standing at a distance as ordered, making critical statements. He engaged in no physical conduct. And then what I didn't put in here, I guess not, and maybe what I should put in here as well is nothing Mr. Springer did delayed defendant Riano's traffic stop. Defendant Riano made that decision all on his own without any interference from plaintiff. Boom. That's how we, kind of clarify that point. So, and then Springer requested a supervisor before being taken to jail. And then during the arrest, Riano seized or ordered the seizure of Springer's cell phone, professional camera equipment, and then his memory cards. And another individual present, who we all know, was recording the entire incident, but nobody stopped her there. And then we get into the magistration. Bail was set. So this part of the story is not really necessary. Now, the magistrate, was she belligerent, and did she refuse to properly evaluate the circumstances? Yeah, but it's a whole other discussion. But there's nothing we could do to kind of go after her for that. So I left that section obviously pretty short, just to kind of tell the story. Yeah, he was in jail for 78 hours, and then the bail was set. And then at least at the time of this writing, as far as we know, no criminal charges were ever filed. And then the coerced consent and unlawful search, that sets up our that sets up a Fourth Amendment violation. So we get into that. Springer wanted his property back. They said, no, we're going to keep it because we are obtaining a search warrant to download all data. And they had his phone, his memory cards, all of that. Can you imagine that? And the phone, what does that go into? That could go into your emails. That could go into your contacts, your text messages, all this stuff. And then officers informed him that they already submitted the warrant application. So here's the thing. Judges, a lot of times, if the warrant was obtained, they're going to say, hey, you can't come after me for this because I got a warrant. Well, that's why the application is important. If they put in the application of the warrant lies, or they omit necessary information, or it's not narrowly tailored, they still open themselves up to liability, and a judge's signature will not protect them. At least not initially. Maybe it will down the road. Maybe the court sides with them, but I'm going to make sure I make an issue of it right away. And then so the clear message was that they were basically telling him, hey, you're going to allow us to do this search if you want your stuff right away. Otherwise, yeah, that you're just going to have to deal with it and wait. 1 second. Okay. Yeah, no, exactly. All of this for telling a cop to shut up. And here we are listening to city council, right? And we got the city council meeting on right now. You all are here because I thought it'd be cool to live stream with it. But here's the problem. City council's probably thinking the exact same thing. They're like, all this for saying shut up. I'm not going to deal with this. Well, they're probably going to be quiet. They're going to just want it to go away. But it's not going to go away. And so let's have our fun, right? Let's have our fun and let's change the law. Maybe change the city. So, okay, let me see. So he was scheduled to leave. So basically, they did get the warrant. Apparently they did download all of his stuff. So he was able to get it. Even though he said he did not consent to a full search, they did it anyway, right? So we're putting all that in there. And then he had been live streamed publicly in real time. Rihanna also had his body-worn camera. So why did he need to have the footage from Freeman? Didn't make sense. Another witness had recorded pink camera magic. And then the following day, they returned his property after completing their downloads. Now, who knows what they did with that information, right? We're going to find out. I expect, because they have notice of impending litigation, there's an obligation that they preserve any and all information, text messages, emails, cameras, footage, everything. And we're going to go after all of it. So, and then on October 8th, so city's ratification. So this is important. How do we get the city? Well, I'm going to do a video and a discussion on Manel claims, which is how you sue a city. They don't get qualified immunity, right? They're not an individual, but you need to show a pattern. Most Manel claims usually fail because you can't point to a pattern, and a pattern is 3, 4, 5, right? It can't, and you got to be specific. Otherwise it's quote conclusory. You can't just assume a pattern exists. You have to point to specific instances. There is a way around that though. Ratification. If you can show that a policymaker for the city, such as the police chief, ratified the conduct of Officer Riano, well then you don't need to show a pattern. You have ratification. And so that gets you a cleaner route to the Manel. So that's what we did. After Mr. Springer's arrest, I'm sure you all have seen the City of McKinney's post on social media. So where they said, we're aware of the public attention surrounding a recent arrest involving an individual recording a traffic stop. Now, I know before the police chief approved or city manager approved the release of this, I know, or I would hope, that they reviewed the actual video on the incident, right? And then they talk about 3815. Citizens may also record their own interactions, right? A Texas Penal Code 1602, and officers have a duty to ensure each encounter is safe and controlled. Yeah, but there's a balance between what their duty is and where our rights are, right? Their duty does not trump our rights. If someone's actions interfere with that ability, officers may take lawful enforcement action, including arrests. So, what were the actions that interfered? As you know, Freeman saying shut up. So, yeah, anyway. So that statement was probably I would argue, I mean, obviously we're making an issue of it. It's going to be no secret. That statement's going to be a problem for them. So, and then the chief, city manager, whoever the policymaker is, the policymaker. So to sue a city, you have to point out really three things, right? You have to identify a policymaker by name. A policymaker has to be somebody that actually makes decisions. City council, mayor, city manager, police chief. You have to then prove it by evidence that they make decisions. If you don't name a policymaker, your lawsuit against the city will fail. Okay. So if I don't know who the policymaker was, I will name every individual on city council. I will name the city manager. I will name the police chief. If I don't know, right? Because how do we know in the beginning? We don't. Then once I get discovery, that's one of the things I go to find out. So here I know by looking at the city's charter, who their policy makers are. Typically that can also be helpful. And then I talk about, and then so the first thing, policymaker. The second thing is you need a policy. Policy could be a practice, a custom, and you're developing that through, or a failure, not training or not doing something can also in of itself be a policy. And then the last thing is you need causation, right? That someone's rights would not be violated, but for that policy. And so it has to include like foreseeability as well. Like the policymaker was aware that this policy was going to result in the violation of someone's rights. So that's kind of what I spell out here. Short, concise statements saying what it is. And so I say that we have ratification here because the policymaker made an official statement on an official city platform, right? I don't think anybody could just publish that type of statement on social media, right? Not on the city's page or on the police department's page. They got to get specific approval. One second, I'm listening to the agenda. Not us. Okay. So, all right. So ratification, they did that. They basically defended the arrest as lawful, and they mischaracterized protected speech as interference. That's ratification. Ratification is so important here because they're basically justifying Officer Riano's conduct. So guess what that means? If it happens tomorrow, all the officers on the McKinney Police Department are going to say, yeah, we're allowed to do that because when Riano did it, they were protected. So that's why this is important. That's why we got to hold them liable for this, right? So, and then of course the statement ignores the law. And then Riano was previously employed, so they should know that, in Roseville, California. And he is currently a defendant in a federal civil rights lawsuit in the Eastern District of California arising from excessive force allegations during his employment with the Roseville Police Department. Less than a month after this interaction, so earlier in November, they reached a settlement. I don't know what the settlement is. We'll find out, but it's not finalized yet. So they've reached a tentative settlement. So while that lawsuit is ongoing, he leaves or quits or gets fired or whatever from the California Police Department, and he hightails his way to McKinney, Texas, where he gets employed and hired on a 6-figure salary, while they probably knew he was facing this civil rights lawsuit. Like, are you kidding me? So, and then following his arrest, the city defended his arrest, and Riano has still remained employed today without discipline, demonstrating ongoing ratification of his conduct. So then after you lay out the facts, what do you have to do in your complaint? Well, you got to tell the court what your claims for relief are, right? So we're bringing false arrest and unlawful seizure. Remember what I said, if you don't really know the facts, if someone was actually arrested or not, you just call it unlawful seizure. You encompass it all, detention, arrest, whatever. And then you just lay out very brief facts. The first thing is, hey, I reallege and incorporate everything I already said into here. And then the key thing, Fourth Amendment, right? Because you got to also think about how do you overcome qualified immunity? Well, the Fourth Amendment, right? You point to the Constitution, whatever you're asserting, protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, including arrests without probable cause. And then Riano arrested Springer without probable cause. Boom, done. And then, but I add a little bit more, right? But I didn't have to. If I didn't add more and you were pro se, it'd probably be good. But I did add more. His speech was entirely protected. He told Riano to shut up. And then you also have the penal code that says you're allowed to engage in speech and it not be unlawful interference. And then so I kind of reiterate those facts a little bit. Probably don't have to. And then at the time of arrest, it was clearly established, right? Arrest cannot be based on speech alone. Criticism is protected by the First Amendment. There must be probable cause to effect arrest. That paragraph right there is for the sole purpose of overcoming qualified immunity on this issue. And then what do? You don't have to do it. It's probably not necessary. But when a motion to dismiss is filed, courts do look at the complaint. And so it gives me kind of a chance to preempt their argument. And so that's when I would include like these cases, right? Where I'm like, hey, the Fifth Circuit's already decided this issue in these two cases that you're allowed to verbally criticize, right? And so it was Riano's conduct that violated Mr. Springer's clearly established Fourth Amendment rights. As a direct result, there was harm. He was, so there you go. That's it. It spent like a page or two on that count, just spelling it out. And then count 2, First Amendment retaliation, right? Why? What's the retaliation? Well, he was arrested for saying, shut up. That's it. That's all you really got to say. Hey, he arrested him for protected speech. And then I list the elements for a First Amendment retaliation claim, right? You want to list the elements so the court understands what are they applying. Again, I don't technically have to put this in the complaint, but I'm operating on the assumption that there's going to be a motion to dismiss, and I am getting in front of, I'm pretty much pre-arguing. I'm getting in front of the defendant's arguments. That's all I'm doing. So, because if I can get in front of their arguments, and Mckinney might watch this, their counsel might watch this, who knows? The purpose of me making these arguments, McKinney's counsel, is so you're like, I guess I can't move to dismiss this. But maybe you want to earn a paycheck. Maybe you want to bill for it. So maybe you're going to file a motion to dismiss anyway, maybe because it's a delay tactic, right? But what I'm pointing out and what everybody is reading here, it'd be pretty stupid to move to dismiss. But, you know, you do you. So I'd say tell the court already all 3 elements are satisfied, right? So first, his speech of saying shut up was protected. Second, the arrest and incarceration for 7 to 8 hours would chill any person of ordinary firmness. Doesn't have to be chill Springer, right? It doesn't have to chill his rights. It just has to chill the rights of any person of ordinary firmness. So if somebody knew they could get arrested for saying shut up, would they want to say shut up? And if the first thought is no, well, then it's chilling their rights. It's pretty straightforward, right? And then, so I talk about all that. And then again, I cite 2 cases. And then I say he's not entitled to qualified immunity. And then there was harm. You got to assert the harm, right? So for First Amendment, you can just assert $1. And then unlawful seizure, right? So the principal rule with unlawful seizure under the Fourth Amendment is if you are searched incident to an unlawful arrest, the case law is that the search itself then is also unlawful. So if you have an unlawful arrest and you were searched, you also have a claim for unlawful search. Pretty simple. And so that's kind of what I spell out, right? So the search was, one, wrong, but then also they didn't have probable cause that he committed any crime. The footage was live streamed, and then, so they kept his stuff for several hours and then caused him harm. And then so that, here you go. Searches incident to unlawful arrests violate the Fourth Amendment. There you go. So, and then not last one, count 4, prior restraint, right? So the prior restraint is basically saying, hey, he's a journalist. A prior restraint doesn't just against journalists, like it could be against anybody. If you know you're going to get punished for engaging in speech before you make the speech, that's prior restraint. So they seized all of his stuff because they knew that that's how he earned a living. That's knew how he expressed himself, and they wanted to interfere with that ability, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. And then the last count is the not last count. I also did coerce consent, although they went and got a warrant anyway. So I'm probably going to have to tweak this a little bit to also incorporate the information about the warrant was likely unlawful. Now, again, do I know if the warrant contained accurate information? Of course not, right? Until I see the affidavit, until I see the warrant. But I'm allowed to make those allegations on behalf of my client, right? Because it's just upon information and belief. We know that they got a warrant, and we know no judge would legitimately give a warrant if they knew exactly what happened, right? So that's what we're going to operate on. And then so they didn't actually rely on any consent. They got the warrant. So and then of course, what do? They searched every device, everything he had. So and then First Amendment unlawful search of his journalistic sources and materials. Again, they searched his stuff because he said shut up. Yeah, like what's the purpose? What is the purpose of that? They didn't have probable cause to do that. You know, there are people who commit more heinous crimes, period, but heinous crimes, and they don't have their phones and devices and things searched. Like, why were they doing it here? Like I said, I think they are doing an information gathering technique, and they use this incident to try to figure out who does he communicate. We'll find out. I don't want to say too much more than I already have on that, but we're going to get to the bottom of exactly why they did that. And when I do that, McKinney's going to be like, damn, why didn't we just put that on the agenda? Why didn't we just pay him $1? Why didn't we just pay him $98,000? How much is this going to cost us? How much time and resources are we spending on this? All over saying shut up? Hey, I gave you all a fair chance. That's all I'm saying. So the search, of course, chilled his journalism activities. Why? Because if you knew your stuff was going to get seized and searched, everything was going to be searched, you're not going to go out there and do it. Chilled. So, yeah. Freeman has given me permission. Obviously, there are things that are, let me talk about disclosures. There are things that I can talk about and not talk about, right? One, I got to make sure I don't make public statements or say anything extrajudicial statements that could impact or interfere with the ability of a fair trial, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I think to the extent this gets, you know, you're talking years down the road, I'm probably going to have to shut it down a little bit and not talk about it because I want to preserve the integrity. Two, I'm going to keep my comments, Freeman, there's attorney-client relationship, attorney-client privilege, but he has authorized me to disclose factual information from the case. And to the extent Mckinney attempts to try to get some protective order, we will fight that like hell because they started this, they made this public. So we're gonna keep this public. So I'm gonna share any and everything that I can on this case, and I'm gonna keep it to the facts. Right? If I say something, I'm gonna back it up with information. Now, to the extent the court kind of narrows things down closer to trial, we'll kind of figure that out and we'll work with it. But here's what I would say: if McKinney allows this case to get to trial, there's no way, right? They wouldn't do that. Would McKinney take this case to trial? I don't know. Not facts, right? Not facts. So I guess I shouldn't talk about that, but you know, come on, think about it. So, and then after all of those Fourth Amendment or constitutional cases, then we look at the claims against McKinney. And we have, right, there was obviously ratification, but then we have a violation of the Privacy Protection Act. There is case law here in Texas where similar conduct, where a city had taken someone's equipment, searched it under very similar circumstances, and it was held up as a claim that survived motion to dismiss. So if McKinney thinks they're going to be off the hook on this, yeah, good luck. So brought all of that. And then what I'll do too is once this is filed, because it's still in draft form, once it's filed, I will probably publish a share link with all the case filings. Anything that's on Pacer, any case filing, I will make available to you all as well. So just keep an eye out. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, because I will probably post the link as a post rather than a video. And maybe my the firm's Facebook page as well. Maybe we'll post the link there as well. So, and then so I meet all the requirements for that specific thing. It's not really necessary for 1983, but if you want to see how I did that and see the language for that, that'll be available in the link. Okay. So, and then of course, as we set up earlier in the facts, 1 second, I'm listening to the agenda. Okay, they're talking. So I talked to you all about the ratification that we were setting up earlier, right? So that's another claim against the city of McKinney. Is it crazy talking about the claims against city of McKinney while they're at their city council thing right now because they don't want to talk about this. So yeah, I'm going to post all the filings, so you all don't need to worry about it, okay? So the count ratification by final policymakers. So basically under Manel, that's what I said. That's why there's cases. And then basically there's this other cases, this PIN bar. A single decision by a municipal official with a final policymaking authority can establish liability without showing a pattern. Manel, if you can't show a pattern, I'll say it again, because if you think I'm going to go sue the city, it is an incredible uphill battle if you cannot show a pattern. Why can't you show a pattern? Well, the city is not going to disclose information willingly. This is where I rely on you all. If you all are posting videos or police interactions in cities or sharing information with me, that's how I know if there's a pattern. I don't go to the city. I'll try to do an open records request, but then they'll try to file exemptions and they'll say they can't do it. But if I find a video, for example, like say McKinney, Texas, if I had a case where I want to go find a pattern, I'm going to look up McKinney police and I'm going to watch the videos and I'm going to say, can I establish a pattern? Is there something that's similar? So if you all are posting this stuff or you're going out there and doing this, keep doing that, because when we can shed light on it and we can develop patterns, then the city doesn't get to control that narrative. We get to control that narrative, right? So that's what I would say. All right. Okay, hold on. I'm going to
Out and about and you're at meetings.
switch back to the meeting.
You see the look in people's eye. They truly love what McKinney is. This is a special place. We have so many people that are committed to making this city be the best it can be. And for that,
I'm committed to making
very much.
McKinney better. I promise.
Yes, sir. A couple of items. Speaking of the city of McKinney and people loving McKinney, we had last Friday we had the honor to host a group of about 80 folks from around the country, both city management types and GovTech companies that work in the GovTech government.
Okay. All right. That's just so. So that's what I do. Ratification. Let me pull up the chat. Did I miss something in the chat? What are you all doing here? What I missed? I missed a joke. I think I missed a joke. All right. So we're McKinney same day, right? As you all have seen, the same day as the arrest, the city posted an official statement defending the arrest as lawful action. Oh, y'all couldn't hear it because I had the volume down. That's right, my bad. Because it's playing in my ear. They were just talking about how everyone wants McKinney to be a great place. That was my fault. I'll remember that next time I switch it over. So the statement was made basically defending it, right? So then I go through all the ratification stuff again. I could probably take a lot of this stuff out, but it's consistent with the story. But for yours, you only got to say it once. You say the elements, you say the facts that apply to your elements or the allegations that apply to your elements, and you move on, right? And then they ratified his conduct. And then we got our prayer for relief. We want judgment, compensatory damages, punitive damages. I don't have in here. Okay. I gotta add something here. Okay, cool. So psychopath. History Bear, I appreciate all the support tonight. You're on it. I'll be sure to apply this stuff I don't want to disclose. Yeah. Okay. So are these guys going? Okay, I'm going to switch back to the meeting here.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Feltus, second by Councilman Franklin. All those in favor of adjourning, raise your hand. Those opposed, same sign. It is 7:16, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
I've never seen anybody oppose.
They adjourned. They didn't even do their. They did not do their executive session, as far as I know. They didn't even go to executive session. I wasn't listening. If anyone had the meeting on, did they move the executive session at all? Huh. Anyway, well, I mean, it is what it is. So you all have seen the draft complaint. Are there any questions on it? I appreciate this. Is really last minute. I was trying to find a creative way to kind of share the complaint with you all. So I want to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like, right? The key components, right? So I want to use this as a education, as a learning tool. That's what I hope to do. Educate you all. And because this stuff's not easy, and I understand that it's difficult to have a lawyer where you're at to be willing to take cases. Like I know I get hundreds of calls, and I can't take all the cases. I'm one guy. But I wish there were other lawyers out there that are willing to take these cases. So what do you do when you want to file a complaint? You just got to have your caption, name all the parties in the beginning. Where are you filing it? It says complaint, and you just give short, concise statements telling your story, right? And you tell your story. I was arrested by such and such and that person did not have probable cause. And then you say specifically what your claim is. Fourth Amendment violation, unlawful arrest. First Amendment violation, retaliation. And that's it, right? And then you sign it. You have to sign it. So it doesn't have to be. So sometimes when I see some of these pro se complaints, especially once they're dismissed or whatever, it's because they just kind of tell a story, but they don't specify the complaints or the allegations. Or they state the allegations, but they're not actual allegations, right? Like they're not actually saying false arrest, or they're not saying, I hear a bunch of stuff like, due process is a really hard thing to plead. I'll just tell you that, because there's procedural due process, substantive due process, and the case law gets a little crazy out there. And so there's a lot of different types of causes of action that people will say. And I'm not going to get into all that here, because depending on the cause of action, it could get really complicated. Here's what I would say, though. Hey, History Bear, appreciate it, man. Here's what I would say with the causes of action. If it's a First Amendment, for example, you just say First Amendment, retaliation, prior restraint, retaliatory arrest, retaliatory prosecution, right? Those are easier to explain because you're talking about one event or one circumstance. And keep in mind, too, if you get unlawful arrest, if you can get damages from an unlawful arrest, they lack probable cause. That's all you have to establish. Based on these facts, no probable cause. You got to provide enough information to where the court knows it's not conclusory. How do I do that in my case? I said, well, Freeman was arrested for saying shut up, and he complied with all the instructions of the officer. Well, that on alone is not conclusory. That's exactly what happened. So we're going to be able to, we should be able to overcome qualified immunity or other pleading deficiency issues. So just keep in mind, you can't just say they lack probable cause. You have to give some facts as to why that is. Otherwise, it's, quote, conclusory. If you've seen any cases dismissed, they're saying, oh, you made conclusory statements. That's where that comes from. So you have factual allegations and then your claims, and then you sign it, right? And you tell the court, what do you want? You want damages. So you don't have to say the amount either. Okay. If the city brings up qualified immunity, will you move to admit 19? Oh, yeah. So the city doesn't get qualified immunity, right? It applies to the individual officer. But to the extent they bring that up, 1,000%, I'm going to say I'm going to say the officer doesn't benefit from qualified immunity. Of course, we know I'm going to lose that argument, but it doesn't matter because even applying the strict BS standard of qualified immunity, I think we have enough to overcome it. And if the court doesn't agree with me, I'll just kick it up to the Fifth Circuit. I have no problem doing that in this case. But yes, I definitely intend to preserve the argument that qualified immunity, the clearly established standard, should not apply when reading the original text of the Civil Rights Act. Right. So, all right. I don't want to, hopefully I didn't overburden you all with this. Normally I'd have charts. I'd plan this out. I'd probably do it pre-recording so I could take out all the kind of crap. But I felt like this was a good opportunity because I knew that city council meeting was going to be boring. So I felt like if I showed you the draft we were working with, and of course, that it could be helpful. So before I cut it loose here, and keep in mind, there's going to be updates. Again, once I file it, keep an eye out for the post on YouTube, on the channel, on my channel. And then I'm also going to have it posted on the law firm's Facebook page, which is just look up, should just be Grable PLLC. Maybe I'll change that to my name. I got to figure all that tech stuff out. And then we'll go from there. But I intend, and Freeman wants this to be open and visible to you all. And I have clear instructions that we are not going to agree to have this case silenced, and any intent to do so, we will object and we will fight. Right. So we have a First Amendment. One, there's First Amendment right, but two, the concept of open courts needs to be heard loud and clear. They don't get to bury this case because they're embarrassed. That's what it comes down to. And if they try to argue that this is about fairness of a trial, well, let's set a trial date next year and maybe we'll agree to kind of silence what we're saying. But also, again, if you're agreeing to take this to trial, that just doesn't sound feasible. But either way, we'll figure it out. The goal is to be open. To the extent we're going to be restricted, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, all right, I will pause real quick for any questions or anything that you all may have. Again, let me just say I appreciate support of the mods, appreciate support of you all, and Freeman. You know, he definitely appreciates the support as well. He doesn't need me saying that. That dude, he understands it. So, if nothing else, I will be signing off, and then we'll there's not going to be a live this weekend if you all have followed up on that, just because, anyway, so next time you'll probably see me is going to be after Thanksgiving. So I'll post other videos, but interaction like this. So happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you all on the other side.